Hey guys, today I wanted to bring you my first clear of Challenger 300. So first of all, I just want to say that I'm nowhere near the first person to clear this rift compared to some of the other servers. I know that this rift has already been cleared a few weeks back on some of the other servers, but for my server, even though we do have quite a number of high resonance players, I was lucky enough that none of them had taken this clear yet, so I was really happy to try this out as soon as I reached Paragon 500. Normally, as soon as I reach the new Paragon milestone, what I normally like to do is take a crack at the challenge rifts because I gained a huge amount of combat rating, so I like to see what I can do in there. For me, this usually takes a while because I try to push myself to the limit of what I can clear, but this time around it only took me about 30 to 40 minutes to get this first clear, and I'm going to be going through the reasons why I think it was a lot easier this time. The first thing I noticed is that Blizzard actually made a change to challenge rift last month, so before unlocking challenge rift 300, the highest rift that I could attempt was actually only 294, so once I equipped all of my Inferno 3 items, I cleared this pretty easily in about 3 minutes, which was kind of to be expected, but what I was surprised to see once I exited the rift is that I could directly attempt Challenger 300 after this. So normally after clearing a rift really fast, I could unlock something like the next 3 to 4 rifts. So after clearing 294, I was expecting to be able to do something like 297 or 298 and then slowly work my way up from there. But I remembered that in a patch last month that they made, they actually changed this skip up to 10 levels after completing a challenge rift, depending on how fast you've completed it. So this change made it so that I only had to clear 2 rifts to get my first clear, rather than the standard 4 to 5 rifts that I normally have to slog through to make my way up to the final rift. The second big thing was that this time my clan had the Challenge Rift speed tower, which makes it so that elite mobs drop more of the progression orbs, so this was huge and actually allowed me to have enough time to kill the boss. So unfortunately for my last push, the timing coincided with the reset of the Accursed Tower season, which meant that no clans on my server had any of the tower bonuses, and this definitely made clearing the rifts a lot harder. The third reason why it was so easy is that I believe that the combat rating requirement wasn't as high as it normally is for the highest available challenge rift. So in my last video I showed that I could reach up to 300 points above Challenger 300, which was a big surprise. So even though my resonance was about 200 points lower on my last Paragon push 10 weeks ago, and my gear was also slightly worse, which did make my combat rating overall a bit worse, I was still about 50 points under Challenger 250, and it was extremely challenging to get that first clear, and I actually missed out on getting it because of that. So having the extra combat rating here definitely made me feel a bit more relaxed, not only because this allowed me to deal more damage, but also since I could drop my combat rating a bit, so I could have more optimal magic attributes and also optimal set bonuses. The last thing which I think made a huge difference is that I made a decision to class change to Tempest to play the Challenge Rift. So as you guys saw in my last video, I reached Paragon 500 on my Crusader, but more than half of my pre-farmed gear was actually on Tempest. So last time around I just stuck with Crusader for Challenge Rifts, but honestly I found that compared to other classes, Crusader's a bit weak in Challenge Rift. So after I failed to get that first clear, I made the plan that no matter what class I was going to use for my push, I would save the class change and then either go for Tempest, Wizard or DH. I think that Necro or even Blood Knight could have been a good choice, but I was missing too many of the recent essences for those classes, so anyway I decided to go with the Tempest in the end because I had the most pre-farm gear for it and I also had all of the essences for it. So for this rift I used my Tempest top DPS build, which I've recently showed on my channel. I'm going to put a link to that build in the description, and this was actually before the most recent patch where they did a balance change to the Sky Imparter main hand. So I would honestly say that I played a lot worse than average in this rift, and I died a lot of the times for no reason and missed out on finishing some of the elite mobs because I wasn't paying so much attention. But playing as a Tempest as well as just having the Challenge Rift tower as well let me get away with this a bit more. So you might notice that there's some lag while I'm playing, and this is completely normal for Challenge Rifts unfortunately, and a few people actually advised me to try turning off the in-game sound and also turning off the damage numbers in the interface settings, but I opted to keep both of these settings on just for the sake of the video. I know a lot of people like seeing the damage numbers, but if you are running rifts just for yourself, I would really recommend you to switch this setting off, and not only potentially for less lag but also for the sake of visibility. It's a lot easier to dodge the monster attacks, and also to be able to see that elites are following you around the map so you don't end up killing like 2 of them and missing out on the last one and then potentially missing out on all of those progression orbs. So I'm just killing off the last pack here to try to get the boss to spawn, and of course I'm going to die a few more times like a noob just for good measure, but that's fine. So one other thing that I want to mention is that even though I was above the combat rating requirement, the monster health is still very high, and the secondary stat requirement is also still extremely high, so I think it was like something like 6k for the armor pen and the armor. I'll be showing all of the requirements at the end of the video for the rift, but I only had something like 3.5k armor, so the mobs were actually hitting very hard every time they touched me. Of course I did still have a lot of opportunity to dodge the monster attacks, so I'm not trying to make excuses for myself, but it is what it is. So here we go, just killing the last few mobs off here. And one thing to note about these abomination mobs is that they are demons, so they do benefit from me having the Reforge bonus, which is the 6% damage bonus. So let's also take a look at the boss here. So I was really lucky and I actually managed to get Egonicus, which is also a demon boss, and he's going to be taking that extra damage from the Reforges. So I'm really happy that I got a Rift like this. I was pretty lucky to get it. I think that this was my third reroll of the Rift, so it was pretty nice not to have to fish for such a long time. And yeah, let's just see how this boss fight goes. Obviously, I did make a few mistakes, even though it is probably my favorite Challenger boss in the whole game. So I just popped my ulti here, and his HP is actually melting pretty fast, so I'm pretty happy about that. And at this point I can tell that I'm going to be able to clear this rift as long as I don't make any major mistakes. So here we go, he's doing his flame attack and he spawned the ads here, and you'll notice that at this point I'm actually going to get pretty much one shot. I don't know exactly what happened, maybe the ads hit me here, but hopefully I'll still be able to clear this rift. Something which I was thinking about was to rerun this rift with a lot lower resonance, and obviously my secondary stats don't matter, but it could be cool to rerun the rift and see if I can clear it with something like 1 or 2k resonance, just to see if it's possible for lower resonance players to actually clear this, because it would show that lower resonance players are actually able to still get first clears, which I didn't think would still be possible at this stage of the game. So there we go, guys, that's Challenge Rift 300 down in a total time of 7 minutes and 10 seconds, and I honestly could have shaved another minute or two from this time, but I'm pretty happy with this clear. And I'm just going to have a quick look at world chat, because I do like seeing this world message where it says I cleared the rift, and I'm really happy with this clear, and I want to give a shout out to all these people who were telling me congrats. So here we go, claiming my rewards here, and you can see that the final time is 7 minutes and 10 seconds on the leaderboard. So the funny thing is that after the most recent patch that we had, there was actually a bug which meant that the combat rating of all challenge rifts was greatly reduced, and this pushed me down all the way from rank 1 to rank 29, but thankfully Blizzard did step in and fix this bug, and all those clears were wiped off the leaderboard. So I will give them credit where credit is due, even though that shouldn't have been in the game to start with. They did fix it in pretty fast time. So I'm just going to show my gear here, guys. I was using 4-piece Fithus and 2-piece Gloom, and then 2 pieces of Endwinter set. So the reason why I was using the Endwinter set is just because I didn't have any good rings which I had farmed, and I found that the Endwinter set did still provide a decent amount of bonus. Because of the FA runes, primary attacks have a chance to reduce the enemy attack speed and slow them down. For some reason I found that this effect actually kind of works as a chill, so from what I can tell, the 2-piece Endwinter set 15% damage does benefit from that. So that's the reason why I decided to use it. You can see that the pieces that I'm using have 4 out of 4 of the Flowing Strike Eternal Affix, which does give me the shield, which I really like to have. But other than that, it's just the standard build that I'm using, which is the build that I showcased on my channel, like I said. And here are my secondary stats. So you can see that I'm 2504 armor under, which means that the armor and armor penetration is 6.2, and I believe that the potency and resistance is 6k requirement, so I'm way under these. So it wouldn't really have mattered whether or not I had 3 socket or 2 socket items, because I wouldn't have been able to reach this secondary stat requirement. One thing which I did consider to do was to actually reset all of my Iben Fahd's stats here in the Sanctum, and what I was considering was basically to remove all of the armor pen and potency and resistance and just go for pure damage nodes here, so the damage and the life and also the damage and life node here. But I actually forgot to do this before I started the rift. But if I do go for the low resonance challenge and try run this rift again with low resonance, this is something definitely do. But do let me know if you guys would want to see that. That's everything that I have for this one, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.